Well, good evening, traders. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday weekend and ready to get started to look at the week ahead. Good morning, Steve G. I said good afternoon. Sorry. Wow. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Arnaldo. All right. Well, thank everybody for being here tonight. And let's get this thing started. All right. We'll start with a disclaimer. The examples and everything I say is for educational purposes only, my opinion, and not intended to be as any trade advice. Just all the trade ideas are possible ideas. You're responsible for your own actions, and make sure that you know that trading involves risk of loss of capital. All right, a little bit about me. I'm an ex-U.S. Air Force fighter pilot with master's degrees in both computers and in business. I've been an active trader since 1998, a full-time trader since 2009. Technical trader, but I use limited fundamentals, and I do moderate from time to time in the H&R Candlesticks forums, and I provide one-on-one mentoring if people are so inclined. And hit and run candlesticks and right way options. Doug Campbell has a wonderful service there, and the LTA scanner, probably the best scanner that I've ever seen out there that's commercially available at any price. Agenda. We're going to go over the economic calendar. Yeah, PK, I'm going to do that. And in fact, while we mention it, why don't I just zoom in on over here. And let's see now. YouTube. Okay, going out here to the Top Gun Trading. It probably will take about an hour after we're done for the video to render and for me to get it posted. But you can see all of my videos that are posted up there, and yeah, feel free to go there, and those are all free. All right, economic calendar, earnings calendar, market overview, trade ideas. We're going to do some Q&A. Probably about an hour, no more than that. You can leave when you want. And then look at your stocks, time permitting. Don't go too long. Economic reports. Monday the 8th, nothing of importance. Jerome Powell speaks Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I think he's speaking before Congress. The JOLTS jobs data is out at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. The petroleum report, I always like to trade oil. And a biggie here, I put out on its own the FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. That could be a market mover. Thursday at 8:30, we got CPI and jobless claims. I ignore nat gas nowadays. And the PPI out at 8:30 on Friday. Earnings calendar, very, very light calendar this week. Next week we'll start to get in earnest. It's a bit weird right now. It used to be on a Friday, but I think the 4th of July holidays have kind of messed up the schedule of reporting. And the first, I think, is going to be probably next Tuesday or Monday. But this week's very, very light. AZZ, Pepsi. I put a question mark next to KHC, Kraft Heinz. It's not been confirmed yet, for Wednesday before the open. Notable earnings on Thursday: Bed Bath & Beyond, Delta Airlines, and Fastenal. The Bed Bath & Beyond is in yellow because it's greater than 10%. I think it's got something ridiculous amount, like 40% short. Fastenal is only about 7.5 to 8, but I put it up there. It's interesting enough for this week. And on Friday, Envy. I use these as put them on the list to watch for gaps. Either in the morning, I will not trade them after hours or pre-market. I'll let the market open and use a 5-minute opening range, or potentially as short as a 2-minute opening range to go long or short. But those are stocks to watch for the week. Let's do a little bit of a market overview, and let me drop this puppy down. Let's go on over to crude oil first. Crude oil, we got up here in this $64 level and pulled back. We did a little bit of a double bottom here around the $51 level. Moved up smartly to this area into just below $60, and then basically petered out on the rally. Had a big sell-off. You can see my stochastics RSI here. I use stochastics RSI of 7733, and it does a pretty darn good job of helping me judge the momentum and when the selling is over, the buying might be over as well. And I use the crossovers as confirmation of the buying or selling climaxes. But primarily I use price. And then I try to watch here for the volume at price levels. When you get there, the next level down below here is down around 53 to 54. We do have a 55 level. I'm going to actually lower that down to 54 and a quarter because of these levels here. So we have established a new uptrend because we make higher highs and a higher low, and then less. Right, what we have to do here, we did probably, I guess I could make the case for this as a lower low last week, with 56.75 or so being kind of a level, but it wasn't an exact number. The actual pivot is way down here at 52 or 51 and a half. So potentially this could go up. However, if we get a failure here and drop below, say 56 and a half or so, we could drop ourselves down to 54 and a quarter. Let's look at gold. Gold had a huge rally up to the 1440s and then pulled back hard. Tried to do a bounce, got up here to this 1425 level or so, and then kind of rolled back over. We are still in an uptrend, but it's in jeopardy of failing. Gold and oil are both very volatile. S&P hit new all-time highs on Friday, and then is in the process of pulling back. My stochastics RSI said, be careful. We could be getting a pullback, and so I'm going to be watching for that. And a confirmation of where we might be able to go. Confirmation would be, say, breaking around 29.75. And my first area of support here is 29.50, and I'll look at that and then see where we go from there. Hello, Coach, Mr. Boo. All right. Yeah, the gold bug there. The Dow looking a lot like the S&P, and it did not get its momentum all the way up to the top, and it's rolling over. There's a lot of congestion in here. Really hard to tell where support is until we get down to 26.5 and a quarter. Let's look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ's down 10 in the overnight session. Again, had all-time high on Friday, pulling back. The first level of defense is right here around 77.95. And what I'll do is I'll raise this up here. You may not be able to see it, but there's a kind of a maroon line right here where the highest volume at price level is, and it's around 7,800 or so. So that would be my first level of support, which is really about the low of Friday. We bounced off of it. If we break that, we're probably looking at somewhere around 76.92 or so. Russell was left out in the cold. It did not participate in the rallies to new highs. Russell for quite some time has not acted very strongly. So caution there. This is the weak sister out there. I don't see anything that tells us we could short any of these, even though they're all up over here and look like they're going to be pulling back. These are all just pullbacks in an uptrend. Even the IWM, the Russell, that is that's the weakest of the bunch. Where does it support? Basically the Thursday, Friday lows, maybe 1560 or so, and then all the way down here around 1535. All right, VIX showing no fear. Although we did get a high wave doji there on Friday, and it looks like we're trying to curl back up. So be careful that the VIX may rise a little bit as the markets pull back a bit. Okay. Go back to our slides. Little trade ideas. You may want to jot these down. The long trade ideas are WSM, AGO, BBY, EV, MPC, SKX, WDC, and I'm going to throw AMD in there. Short trade ideas are Lilly, LLY, LEN, DHEI, CELG, BMY, and ABV, ABBV. Okay, let's see if we can get these out there. Post them to you. Long trade ideas. Let me get this. Okay, there we go. And now let's pull those up in TC2000. TC2000 is my go-to watch list manager, and daily, weekly scans I do on that as well. And the longs, Williams-Sonoma. I think we're going to go back up here and retest this 66 and a quarter level, and it looks like it's curling back up. We did have a lot of buying after its last earnings release. This is kind of getting a little long in the tooth, as all the markets are, but as the markets have been pulling back, this one's trying to go higher. So it's a possible long, especially if the markets turn around. AGO, a lot of insurance companies showing up on the scans here. Probably going to stop around this 44.40 level, so 44.40 to 44.5. Maybe look at a pullback and a breakthrough this coming week. And this, let's grab this over here. This little candle right over here is basically a void. We dropped down very rapidly on one day. There's very little to stop us on the way up of going back up maybe 2 or 3 days and going from about $44.50 to about $46. That's what I'm looking at. But it may take a little bit of up and down movement over this 44.40 level before we actually break out and move. Best Buy. I know a lot of people are kind of against the brick and mortar but it's a specially retail. You cannot fight the technicals here. We did a gap up here, I believe, on earnings, and with strong jobs data and stuff on Friday, I would think anything over 72.35 or so could gradually make its way up into the 74s. Eaton Vance probably going to go up to this level here around 45.75 or so. Watch for the breakout. Again, another one that's a bit long in the tooth. So be careful for a false breakout there. I really like Marathon Petroleum. I almost went long on Friday, but I just thought better of it. And we'll see how that goes. If it breaks over this $55 level, 55.10 or so, I'll probably put on an option trade. Looking for it to go to at least 57.75. Skechers. Oh, thank you. Best Buy, 72.37. Let's go back up here. Sometimes they change here. 65.25. Thanks, Bill. AGO still up here when I changed it. Mark there. Best Buy, looking for it to go up to the 75s. Eaton Vance, still wanted it to go up here to around the 45 something. Marathon Petroleum, still the same. Skechers, looking for the breakout over 32.75. Watch out for a breakout and a pullback. This would be a nice area. If you are concerned about a fake out breakout, maybe only go in with a partial position, like half or something like that, and then when it comes back, if it's uses that level of support and defines it, you could either be put on your full position, or that could be your initial entry. Western Didge, looking for really probably a move. I said over 49, 70, 48.75 or so is probably a good level on this one. There is a semiconductor conference this week, and I think they're presenting out there, so we could get a little bit of interest there. And if you look down here, the balance of power came in over the last week or so, but it did have a pretty healthy run. AMD's just kind of had a nothingness over 32. If people are following it, AMD released a new series of 3000 series of processors for sale this week, and 2 graphics cards. They were both very well received, especially the CPUs, the central processors, and they basically are putting Intel to shame. Intel itself does not look all that bad, but watch for a possible failure here and a move back down to retest these lows around 44. So that's a possibility. AbbVie bought, I think it was Allergan, AGN, and they gapped down on that, and we did basically a bear flag. If I were to do a poor man's Fibonacci's, it did probably about a 3/4 to 2/3 retracement here. This looks a lot like a bear flag to me. Let me go to a 3-day. You can see that, and on the weekly, it doesn't quite show so well. But this bounce, we've got up here, we're rolling back. If we get below, say, this 72.40 to 72.50 level, maybe these 2 lows here, watch that for a move back down here below 70. Bristol Myers, BMY, blue ice failure here. Did a gap down, moved down here, some support, got some buying. A reversion to the mean here up to just below 47. This puppy sure looks like it wants to go down to 45 or lower. So be careful of that one. And my stop would be above, say, the highs of last week. I would prove that I'm wrong. Celgene, move down, bounce, up here around 90, what, 4 or something, 94 and a half. It looks like it could go back down and retest the 92.50 area. And where I'd be wrong is somewhere around 94 and a half. D.R. Horton, residential construction, another blue ice failure, where blue being the 50-period simple moving average. This one sure looks like it wants to go down and retest 42. About $1.50 lower. Lennar, this, if you go on to a 3-day chart, you can see the, let's go to a 2, and you can see how this did kind of a bear flag, and looks like it wants to try to roll over. This one's going to be a little tricky. You notice the balance of power here has been negative on this little bounce here. This one's you're gonna have to give it some room. Probably a close above 49 and a half would prove the short wrong for now. It's going to be difficult to determine the short entry, but I would probably drill down to an hourly or a 30-minute chart to see if we could get a better entry. On second thought, this one doesn't look all that great unless it kind of gets below maybe 47.60 or so. All right. And last one on here, short, Eli Lilly. Eli Lilly looks like it may want to go down and retest at least this 111 area-ish, somewhere down in there, and potentially maybe all the way down to 106. You notice that we have been in a downtrend. We tried to do a double bottom here. It got up to the 50, and it looks like it hit a brick wall, and looks like it wants to try to roll over. An aggressive trade would be to do a short on anything lower on Monday. Maybe if it did an intraday bounce up to about 114 or so and then rolled over again, that would be nice. The stop on my short I proved wrong above 115.75 or so. All right. Hit and run candlesticks, right way options, each have 60-day trial offers for $49 each. I think you probably can't beat that with a stick. Consider giving each one of those a try, where hit and run candlesticks primarily looks at stocks and right way options, obviously from the name. Focuses mainly on options, although sometimes if the options aren't really great, we may take a stock trade. All right, I am going to open it up now for questions that are not stock specific. Sully, jumping the gun there, buddy. Hang on there. I'll put out the crosses here in just a second. Hey, no problem. Now, do you have any questions on anything I did out there? Say my charts, any settings that I've got out there, any questions you might have. Or most of the previous longs from the scanner. Normally what I will do, I have them from two different areas. I have the scanner to give me intraday pop-ups of potential longs and shorts, and they go on my watch list. And then what I do is I use TC2000. I will look here at potential J hooks. Let me go ahead here and go to personal. All right. All right, I have a list here of about 400 stocks that it's in my universe. No, Joe, I don't use monkey bars. what I normally use are just straight candlesticks. If I'm going to day trade, I will use my Ninja Trader, and I'll use Renko charts, Unirenko. Don't really want to go into that at the moment. That's a little thing. But what I'll do here is the scan here, Tesco, K&X. This gives me stocks that have had a move up over the last 10 to 20 days, then had a pullback, and now are curling back up. So in this case, oops, there we go again. A little bit too fast with the mouse. Up here, pull back, curl back up. Let's go to Tesco, and you can see definitely where it's been a move up, did a pullback, and potentially going to move up. All right, GM, CTSH. What I'll do here on these scans and TC2000, these are the ones I'm going to look at on the daily and weekly charts, and I'm going to use this for my watch list management. And then the scans that I've got here are usually from the overnight session. So what I do is I look at them on the dailies after we close. So sometime between, say, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at night. And I use the scanner, the LTA scanner. It'll bring up my watch list and nominate some stocks, and if I see those, I'll add to the watch list as well. Okay. So hope that's a long yes or no on your question there, Greg. I apologize. Winning lottery numbers, if I had them, I would not tell them to anybody there. Joe already answered the point. Is it possible to break out trade with options? The options go up in value by that time. Yeah, the premium will be put in there, but if the breakout continues, the stock price will go up and the options will go up as well. Now, the whole idea there, and I'm not going to go into the options discussion in depth right now, but suffice it to say that you have to make sure you don't overpay. Now, Thinkorswim has some very, very good tools. To look at options, and we were looking at something like, if we were looking at Tesco, then I'd go to the Analyze tab, and then I would look in here, and I'd probably try to pick something out somewhere between 30 and 45 days or so, and I'd like to hit about a 0.7 delta or more. But I'm not going to be interested in Tesco at all because it doesn't have enough open interest. All right. JT wants to know, how can we be prepared for the upcoming Fed and the Powell speaking before Congress? Well, that, if I knew, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you tonight. Yeah, I just have to be aware of it and know that it's going to happen. Oh, yeah, bourbon or whatever your favorite alcoholic beverage is. Be aware that it's going to happen. Be aware that you may not want to initiate a trade right before it, because there'll be some reaction around the FOMC minutes. You could actually trade it intraday, which is what I do. But if I'm on, let's see what we got here. If I had something like Tesco and I went long, and it was going up like this, and it came up to this level, and that's Wednesday, say midday, I might take partial profits so I can reduce. Yeah, I'll be right there with her, Maxim. Um, I might want to take off partial profits right here to reduce my risk. But if I've got a good daily here, I'm going to stay with it until that chart shows me and gives me a sell signal. All right. Moss, even though I didn't bring that up, Moss is an excellent setup. Moss was one that was pointed out to us via the scatter on Friday. Thursday was starting to show up, but definitely on Friday because it had basically a bullish engulf here, body to body. Rad showed up on the list, but Rite Aid, I'm surprised is still in business. They've had multiple reverse stock splits. This 1 to 20 right here. That's not good. BHGE, HFC, Holly Frontier looks pretty good there. Same as the MPC here. This one showed up on both my scan today, but on Friday after the close it shows up, but on Thursday and Friday during the day it showed up. Okay. Maxim, could you make sure that I post out the scan for the J-hook in just a second? Barry, I'm going to answer yours. Okay, thanks. Make sure I don't hang up before, or we don't quit. I'll give you it'll be an oversight on my part. Yeah, is there a particular option strategy you prefer? The two favorites, I primarily trade directional. I know a lot of people say, oh, no, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be selling, and you should be using spreads. I'll use a spread when the options are very, very expensive. But normally, if I believe in this, I'll adjust my size accordingly. I don't go heavily into options as far as all my eggs in one basket. What I like to do is spread it out over, say, 4, 5, 6 different positions, and be able to do that. Because once I put them on, I put out my targets, I put on my stops, and if they don't hit the target, and then I guess once a day, at the end of the day, I will look and reevaluate where my targets are and where my stops are. But just put them on autopilot. Thomas, that's fundamental. I have no earthly idea. Everything that everybody knows about it is reflected in the charts, in my opinion. In there. Okay, I am going to go get, I think I have the J-hook scan already. 2-bar high. Now, Maxim, you want this for TC2000, I suppose. Yes. Well, I think we have it for TOS as well. That's trending down. That's trending up. Let's go here again. There's one for TOS, trending up. I'm not sure we've done one for trending down for TOS. No. I don't have one. I see, I didn't code the TOS. I don't normally, personally, I don't like TOS to do scans. TC2000 does a great job of doing it very quickly, whereas TOS, even if you get them, your watch list management is just cumbersome to say the least. All right. Yeah, the J hook is my go-to scan primarily. I will use rounded bottom breakout, but not as much. Which data source do you set up for VStop? On what? In TC2000 or in TOS? TC2000 has a VStop. We actually have had one of our members here code Stephen Coombs. He coded the volatility stop indicator for us, and we confirmed it that it's the same. It matches all the stuff that's in TC2000. Okay, I think I am going to put the crosses here. All right, I'd like to one and only one stock, please, and let me know if you're going to looking at a long or a short. Bob S. That Booz Allen, I think, is probably a long because I've seen it before, and only one symbol. Now, if we get back and we have a little bit of time left towards the back end, maybe put another one down. But right now, let's keep it as one. Okay, Thomas D. I'm going to stay here. The CME, CME when it passed about 200, now we're right up at resistance. Maybe a breakout here. I bet 203.50, a breakout, but watch out for the breakout and a pullback. The stochastics RSI is a little bit long in the tooth. Doesn't mean that it can't continue to do that, but watch out that you don't get the move up, and then it starts pulling back like that. And you may want to see what does it do when it gets back to 203.50, and if it curls back up, that tells you that this level right here is acting as support. Okay. Kimberly, I think we covered RAD already. Oops. I showed my disdain for Rite Aid. Rite Aid does look like it did the little breakout and it wants to go probably to retest this high volume spike high just short of $10. I think that's what it wants to do. I definitely don't like stocks that do reverse splits. The reason they do a reverse split is they're trying to avoid being delisted. So I know that's a fundamental thing. We've been in a downtrend here. We've tried before to go back up. In this case, I'm not sure that we've made a pivot here. We could consider it, I guess, being $8. That was a pivot. But a 1 day is not much of a pivot for me. Now, if you go to a 60-minute chart, whoops, you can see how it did that spike up. And it's just gradually climbing, but it's not my cup of tea. But I can see what you're looking at. This one did a very get rid of that, sorry. I'll draw it this way. It did a rising wedge, and rising wedges usually break out to the upside, and that's what it's done. How far is it going to go? I think the first one's here, maybe the second one's right about in this level, right in here, at about 1050. All right, I'll move on from RAD. Dabo wants to look at BZU in for long. 1,000. Well, had a number of opportunities to get long back here. This one, Stochastics RSI is giving me a warning signal. This right here is not a bullish candle. If this candle had been down here, then that would have been bullish, and I would look for. But right there, you've got to get a break over 55 before I'm going to be interested at all. Again, ADR, China. We've got talks ongoing this coming week for China. So a tweet could flip this around. Yeah, it could flip the whole markets around for all I'm saying there. Anyway, I told you what I was seeing right there on the charts. Apple probably wants to go back up and retest this 211. We're gradually climbing out of the pit that it dug itself here. We did get a little bit of a congestion here. If I go to a 3-day chart, you can kind of see where it kind of leveled off here at a prior level. But I think we're probably trying to go up here to 211 or so. It's nothing extraordinary though. They do have earnings here on the 30th, so it's still 3 weeks away. It could be doing a run up into earnings. Steve G wants to look at Coke. Coca-Cola. I drew a very, very wide box. And this box is basically saying that we could go as low as the bottom of the box or as high as the top of this box unless we break above it or below it. I'm probably not interested in Coke as a swing trade. Now, if I wanted to swing trade on a daily, that is. If I wanted to swing a hourly chart, well, yeah, this would work quite well. But on the daily, I'm going to assume that you're looking at the daily. I wanted to break out here, and then again, are we going to get any false breakouts like we did before? I don't know. I really don't. We've been long before AMD. I covered AMD. I think we're going to possibly gap up above this 32 on Monday and watch for us to potentially move to about 33 and a half, maybe in the same day. Watch for a gap and crap also. It is possible that all the news is baked in and we get some gap up and run up to maybe these highs and then start pulling back. So this would be the intraday candle. So the candle would initially form as the gap up to this level, and then start pulling back with this being the candle. We could get that, or we could get a run. I'd also watch Intel, INTC, for possible sell-offs. Jonathan B, ANET, long. Watch out, ANET here. It's got resistance right here at this level, 278, 75-ish, the top of this candle. High volume area right there. It's probably going to take a few times there, unless you get some sort of news to break through there. And it may take the next earnings cycle for that to happen. But I can see how we've gone from a downtrend, bottoming process, and now we're making higher lows and higher highs. So what we're doing is higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. We're just basically riding the 3 and 8 exponential moving averages up high. But you have to honor and be aware of a possible pause at this 278.75. Maxim wants to look at Zynga. Zynga. I don't typically trade stocks below about $20, but as far as Zynga, you get a lot of wicks in here, so it's gonna probably have more than just a few pennies on a spread. It's another thing that happens with these low price stocks. But the potential is that we have made a bottom here, right about where that was here, and that this could have formed a bottom. We won't know until we break above this $6.30 level. Where is it going to potentially go to? Possibly the first one's around 6.5. Now, I'm going to bring this up as, okay, if you waited to go long up here around 6.30 and you have a stop at 6.15, that's a 15-cent stop, but you only have 20 cents on the upside. Is that a 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio? No. I pass on that because my reward to risk ratio is not good enough. So you have to decide what's good enough for you. I use 2-to-1 to my first target. I will potentially sometimes stretch it a little bit below that, but not normally. Bob S. Oh, you put in 2 of those. Shame on you. MSI. Motorola Solutions has been on fire since about the middle of May. It's running up into earnings. You can't fight City Hall or the trend. You're going to have to probably wait for a pullback here, in my opinion. J-Hook, I see one that jumps out at me right here. That right in there, that move up, followed by the pullback, and move up. The long was probably on the move right there. And then this is a little bit of a pullback, but it's a little ragged, and they happen a lot of the times when it's a little late in the game. All right, you want to look at global payments. I'm going to go back here to January. Let's go to a weekly chart. You see this weekly chart of GPN? Once we broke over 115, no looking back. This has been an absolute jewel. Basically marching up to the and balance of power is only just started to actually get started on this one. So let's go back to a daily. The daily doesn't show anything fancy on balance of power. In fact, it's somewhat neutral to negative. On the daily, I'd like to see a dip like we got back here mid-June, or maybe a dip that we got back here in March, maybe one in April here, but that would have been a little tough. This is definitely one that's high priced enough I'd be using options. So, and this one's kind of tough. It has a $2.35 average to range about 1.45%. This one's not making it very easy to get on board. I'm sorry, I'm not helping out a whole lot there. Target. Okay, this one I'm going to go to a 3-day chart to start with, and now let's go to a 5. And you can see how we consolidated. Where do we consolidate? Right at the previous highs around September. And this one looks like it wants to try to break out. A lot of the retailers, after the jobs data on Friday, caught a bid. It's like, got to make sure that that actually continues and that we don't. All right. And target red, CMCSA. All right, I'm going to put down No more symbols, please. All right. Harry. Again, I don't really like stocks that have these wicks like this. Comcast, you can see it does it like crazy. Um, Let me show you the EMA chart. This exponential moving average, I've got the 8 and the 17, both exponentials. You can see that from, I guess, January onwards, we were in till May, we were in a solid uptrend. Then we've kind of meandered around. And if you go back over here to the daily, you see how there's May, it meandered around and it's still doing it. If you do it to a 3-day, we did a little scoop pattern here. I'd wait for a breakout above about 44. It was really kind of too tough to call. The daily is too ragged for me. Johnny Mac wants to look at NVIDIA. Well, NVIDIA got slammed here back in April when the CES came out and AMD started. Two things happened. AMD was touting their new processors and their new graphics cards. Intel raided some of their people that are on the graphics card division, and they're going to get into their own graphics card. And NVIDIA basically has been having some trouble with stocks and stuff like this, supply of graphics cards. And they got this big bump up and gap up the other day when they announced their super line of cards. We gapped up to 173 and immediately pulled back. I would make this get back over 161. It's been making higher lows and higher highs, but this is the potential for it to continue to go down. Don't anticipate that it's going to reverse. My stochastics RSI still says it has 1 to 2 days of sideways to down. All right, Planet. Planet on Friday, we were looking at a short one was down at 75. However, it came roaring back. So might want to be careful with this one. Make it get closer to 75 or even break that. Because if it does break that, you probably got $72.50 to $71 in the cards. So yeah, I mean, where would I be proven wrong if I were short? Somewhere above 77 and a quarter or 77 and a half. Rickster, NOV Tango, Novanta, never heard of it. Okay, the first thing I've got to comment on Novanta, because I haven't heard of it, the first thing I went and was looked at the average daily volume. Average daily volume is way below any numbers that I've seen people use, Rickster. A lot of people will use 250,000 shares or more. Personally, for a swing trade, I don't use 250, I use 500,000 or more. For my scans, I'll use 480,000 or so I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I would prefer for it to approach 1 million shares. Really, really liquid. And I use my high volume options here. You see it's 398 stocks. These guys will also have pretty darn decent volume. So they go hand in glove. This is my go-to list every day to start with. and every night to start with. But then I'll open it up. If I can't find any good ones, I may open up the aperture and start looking at the stocks and ETFs with, my 875,000 and 475,000 shares a day. Okay. Where do I see support on Apple? Well, the support on Apple, unfortunately, is a band right in here. This right here is the top part of that. So you're really talking, it could come all the way back to under $200 and still be bullish. So we could do this and pull back and curl back up and still be bullish, because these exponential moving averages will still be pointing upwards. So this is kind of tough. You almost have to wait for some sort of pullback. I hate buying breakouts because of that. I will buy breakouts, but I prefer the pullback and then the move back up, because my stop is a lot closer. Roku long. Roku we were looking at. Roku came up on our scanner as early as Tuesday of last week. They went it on Friday when it went back up over here about 95. It looks like it may want to try to come back up here. However, be careful. You're welcome, Mel. Be careful. Okay, let me stop right here. Let me draw Roku's here. All right. That trend line got broken. And once it got broken and it followed through to the downside, where did it go to? Well, it went to the 50-day moving average. Well, yeah, but what it really went to was the bottoms over here, around 90 bucks. Let's watch out that we don't get a rally up to somewhere around these levels, around that trend line, and roll back over. That it would possibly be a double top around 110. Now, if it gets back up there, there's a possibility that it could do one of these things and eventually break out. But Roku did a nice run up here. Once it did there, this was a warning. Bells and whistles went off in my head when I saw Roku break this level. It broke not only a support level, but it broke a trend line. When both of those did, you had two technical indicators telling you to watch out. Now, let me say that Roku could be a potential short if it rolls over here. My first target would be down here, with further targets as low as 80. But I'm going to let the stock tell me what it wants to do. But I'm going to be ready for any eventuality. All right, last couple, BSX. BSX has done some nice pullbacks. I would definitely consider above about 43. It's not going to move a lot. It only moves about 80 cents a day. That is about 1.8%. But Boston Scientific, I've traded it a number of times back over here in January, February, and again back in the run-up in May, June. I unfortunately sold a bit early, and I did not get back in. Shame on me. Be careful. Next earnings on 24th of July. It could be doing a run-up into earnings. We've had 1, 2, 3 thrusts already. Balance of power is just kind of not going to help me much of anything. And you notice that we're just kind of wavy line on the stochastics RSIs. It's not a V bottom or top. Dave D wants to look at MAXR. Never heard of Maxar. Good volume. Reason is because it's under 20. I think it could be run to 12. Now you'd have to watch out. This level right in here has some possible resistance around 10.5. Some people will say that the 200 period moving average would possibly stop you, but if a stock wants to go up or down, moving averages, 50s and 200s, the only thing they'll ever act as is a pause. They'll slice through it many, many times. And Sully, you say, do you adjust the numbers in your stochastics RSI using the same way? I use my stochastics RSI are exactly the same, except studies, edit studies. I use Wilder's, the close. I will use the 733 and the simple. The only thing that's different is you don't have a choice in TC 2000, but I chose Wilder's RSI here. It just seems to work. This is nothing. There's nothing magic about these. It just gives me an idea. I use it as secondary and tertiary confirmation. Price and patterns here are number 1 and 2. Chuck, I am going to look at your NMSP just to be nice. Nope. November, Mike, Sierra, Papa does not come up. Sorry. Let me try it. Nope. Doesn't show up on TOS either. And Kevin was looking at some. Let's look at the weekly here and some. Probably going to do 2020, and it's going to run into a little bit of resistance somewhere in that area. And if it is a pullback and then move up, maybe 3 days, somewhere in that area. It does have good balance of power. That does mean institutions are interested. Okay, ladies and germs, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I want to say thanks a lot. I don't use it, Dan C. I do not use the volatility stop as my stop. I use it as a nominated or candidate stop. So on this one, if I were long, my initial stop would have been below 1823. Now, I'm probably going to use somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1875. Because if it goes on, do I need to let it go all the way back down to 1820 to be proven wrong? No. I'm going to be proven wrong if it comes down anything like this. Down in this area right here. Or maybe a little higher. All right. Thank you very much. Good luck for everybody. Come on back next week. We'll have another look at the week ahead. And I want you to consider very strongly, invest in your trading business. Invest in, what is it, 49 bucks for a 2-month trial. You can lose more than that in one day, one trade. All right, so in fact, there are many times people that have come in and new guys and gals, and they say, man, I paid for a whole year of right way options or a whole year of hit run candlesticks on just one trade. All right, Mel's asking, can we get you? No. The Wilders is on toss now. TC 2000, it doesn't tell you what type it is. It just says stochastics RSI. RSI period, stochastics, and percent K. So I don't have that choice. I chose Wilders because it seemed to work in TOS. In Thinkorswim, it's just 773 with the percent D 3. And simple for everything. Yep, you have, because on here, I have to choose something. I can use simple, exponential, weighted, Wilders, or Hall. Well, I'm already using simple down here as the average type. I don't know. You could play around with it and see what you like. I settled on Wilders. Unless somebody could show me a reason to change, I'm going to stay with it. It does work for me. All right, take care, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have a great week. See you around the flagpole. Ta.